Hey, welcome back to another exciting edition of the world's greatest footwear business podcast, The Shoe and Show. We are so glad that you're with us today. We have a really fun and exciting conversation because for those of you who don't know, it's February, it's Black History Month, and one of the things that as an organization we prioritize is one, as a co-founder of the Black Footwear Forum, is ensuring that we're providing a platform and a network to engage on the issues that should be important to all of us, to be honest with you. And that is the expansion of opportunity and to drive just kind of a robust and dynamic approach to bringing in people of all different stripes, all different colors and creeds and backgrounds into this conversation about how we can enhance the footwear industry. Because guess what, people? Our consumer base is diverse. Our consumer base comes from all different colors, backgrounds, and creeds. And we want to make sure that we are competitive and meeting the needs of those consumers. And so today, for our conversation and to introduce our guests, I am joined by FDRA's own Sabria Butler. Sabria, welcome back to Shoein.
Hey, Matt, how's it going?
It's going well. What's that?
That I haven't been on here in a while.
I know. We thought we'd bring you back because you are working day to day on the issues that are important to this conversation. And you are my partner in crime in so many ways for things like the Black Footwear Forum and in the regional meetups and the Detroit event. And so tell me today, who is our guest on Shoe and Show?
So today we have Michelle Marshall, who I'm super excited to have joining us today. I was actually cleaning up our BFF site and I came across her bio and it was super extensive. I was like, wow, we should get her on and have her talk about her journey. And she's also been a huge supporter of the Black Footwear Forum. She spoke at our event, I want to say in 2023, right? So super excited to have her. And so I guess to kick things off, Michelle, how about you introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about your background and how well, first of all, let me say what your title is. Your title is the head of D&I at PUMA. So that's who's joining us. But tell us a little bit about your story and how you got to your role at PUMA.
Oh, for sure. That's a long story, but I'll definitely try to make it short. I'm head of diversity, equity, inclusion, and social impact at PUMA. I took on the social impact aspects of the role last year. I have been around this work in many ways since college. And as I thought about my career and have had conversations like this, I wanted to start including that because in college, I went to a PWI, Middle Tennessee State. I was president of the African American Student Association. And even back then, I was a pest going to the president's office, advocating on behalf of the students, ensuring that we were getting the resources we needed to make sure we were bringing cultural celebrations and moments to the campus, to make sure we were supporting the community around the campus. That was a mostly diverse community and many other things. So I've been kind of doing this thing for a while and took that energy into corporate, where I started out in finance, working at Nationwide Insurance. And it was there where I really started to come into my own and learn more about this work and learned that this type of work that I loved had a title, and it was actually a career path to it. Back in the late 90s, Nationwide embarked upon their diversity journey. And as a result, I was able to start volunteering, even though I was sitting in like claims and financial roles. Started volunteering for all of our various diversity initiatives and community projects. And I just continuously volunteered until the point to me becoming one of the first diversity council chairs at Nationwide when they officially launched diversity councils back in 2009. And back then I knew what I wanted to do, really was mentored by our chief diversity officer at the time, and really was able as a young employee to shape what diversity looked like in our Southeast region. And because I was young and didn't know what I was signing up for, I learned a lesson in leadership really quick, because the people that were involved in the committee and the council was a large committee, and it was a committee of directors and VPs and people more senior than me. But I was super passionate about the work. I didn't take the time to research what it would entail, and so I had to find my voice pretty quick. And just doing that great work in the Southeast region led to me landing a role a few years later with Nationwide, where I was able to oversee community affairs, diversity initiatives, and brand reputation for our Southeast region. So really built up some diverse partnerships, really invested heavily in the community, managed volunteerism projects, did a small aspect of government affairs, and just many things that came and tell with their role. I was like the face of Nationwide for our southeast states. And I always tell people about 50 or 60% of my job was going to galas and fundraisers, being a representation, being a representative for the company, and that kind of led down the path to eventually leading the women's program for United Way of Greater Atlanta, and then later on that opened the door to me joining PUMA as their first diversity leader.
Oh, wow.
That's an amazing journey, Michelle. So talk to me about your career and your track at PUMA. And I've always thought to myself about how, the Black community here in the U.S. has impacted me in so many different ways, the Black culture in particular, whether it's the music I listen to or it's my theology as a Christian or whatever it might be. Like, I'm so grateful for the impact that the Black community has had on my life and Black culture has had on my life in so many different ways, both measurable and immeasurable. But it's even more so when you think about footwear. What's unique about the shoe industry, sneaker culture, and the like that is different from maybe insurance? And how did you, when you got to PUMA, how did you find that the journey maybe was enhanced in some way, or maybe there were different challenges you weren't expecting when you arrived into the shoe community?
Well, as you all can imagine, finance and insurance tends to be more on the conservative side. What I found about the sneaker industry and embarking on this is the sneaker industry has had their ear to the ground to Black culture from many, many years before any other industry started really investing in this community. Even when I joined PUMA, one of my first calls after the recruiter reached out to me, gauging my interest, because at that time in 2020, I went through something I had never went through, where all of a sudden companies were reaching out to me continuously, and it was after the death of George Floyd, and I found myself interviewing at 8 companies at the same time in third rounds. I literally should have been paid to log out of my full-time job at the time and into the interviews I constantly was going on. And one of my first interviews was with the president of North America, affiliated with PUMA North America. And I knew when he was like the second call that they was pretty serious about embarking upon this work. And as I continued to do my research of PUMA, because I knew PUMA through hip hop. I remember in the 80s and 90s growing up and constantly seeing PUMA. But as I did my research, I started learning about all the things they've been doing since 1968 with Dr. Tommy Smith, and beyond. And one thing I stated is, if we could just do all the things we've been doing in the community and turn that inward, we'll be off to a great start in terms of this D&I journey at PUMA. So I will say, just to answer your question, the thing about the footwear industry and sneaker industry, a large percentage of the consumer base is diverse and deeply rooted in the Black community. And as a result, you've seen this industry really start off early before other industries, and really investing and understanding the importance of tying this culture to how they grow and how they approach their business models.
Oh, yeah. So, Michelle, sorry, we will be remiss because we don't normally have D&I experts on the show. As of recent, there's been a lot of talk about the strike down of D&I initiatives and policies. Even recently, we saw that Trump dismantled a lot of the initiatives within the federal government when it comes to D&I. What are your thoughts about that? And what do you say to brands who may be thinking that they should roll back on their D&I commitments and initiatives? Do you think that, I'm assuming you think that they should keep them and keep going, but I guess just what are your thoughts surrounding that?
Well, when you dive down, I think the people that are saying D&I is dying and really pushing against the work, I don't think they know what it really means, because D&I is about all of us. So let's say all of the policies suddenly get rolled back today. Tomorrow, does that mean when you go into your company, you're going to all of a sudden stop supporting your employees with neurodiversities? Does that mean you're going to start ignoring employees that have disabilities? Does that mean you're going to stop casting a wide net to ensure that you have the brightest minds at the table and people from all diverse backgrounds? Because we do know when you have more diversity at the table, companies are more innovative. they're more creative, and that adds to the bottom line. That adds to profitability. D&I work is essentially about creating a place of belonging, and a culture where everyone feels supported. When your employees feel supported, they're going to be more productive. And when they're more productive, companies are going to be more profitable. Um, the landscape of this country is changing in terms of the demographics. Companies have to find a way to connect to those consumers. If they don't, they're going to lose money. If they don't find a way to connect to their diverse populations and their various populations within their workforce, they're going to continue to see high turnovers. And high turnovers lead to loss in money. Um, Gen Z is becoming a large majority in years to come of the workforce. And I always say that when you say Gen Z, you see leaders roll their eyes. I don't care what room it's in. But I always say you better learn Gen Z's work love language, because they are a very vital part of your workforce. So whatever happens with these policies, no one is leaving the country. No one is going anywhere. We're still here. So companies are still going to have to support their employees if they value their employees. They still are going to have to find ways to connect to their consumer. And one thing I try to do when talking about this work is just tie it to the bottom line, because at the end of the day, I'm not here to be a therapist or do kumbaya sessions. I'm here to provide the language and behaviors and policies and things that we can embed into our company to ensure that leaders have the tools they need to make sure they're providing psychological safety to their employees so they can feel like they belong. And so when they feel like they belong, as I stated earlier, they're going to thrive, they're going to be more productive, and it's going to add to the bottom line.
Yeah. Well, I love that answer, Michelle, because you really are speaking across like the political spectrum. Like everyone, no matter what your stripe is, everyone likes to make money. Everyone wants to be profitable, and everyone wants to, be competitive, and driving competitiveness, particularly in our industry with a diverse employee base at all levels, not just at certain levels, but at all levels. I think you're absolutely right. You're speaking that language, and I think that's so effective. But I think that's also interesting to hear kind of how we need to ensure that at the end of the day, the companies are competing for talent. And to your point, if you're not doing these things, if you're not seeking out a diverse workforce, and not just in skin color or nationality, but across a variety of different variables, if you will, you're going to not be competitive in the workforce when you're trying to attract new talent. And I think that's what's really impressed me by your answers, because we are having this national moment. There's a national debate on no matter what you want to call it. And maybe as part of it's remarketing the title or calling it something different, pursuant to whatever is the need of your company specifically, or where you sit in the marketplace. But let the company and its employees decide that, and I think to your point, do you envision over maybe the next 5 years having to alter approaches or do something different, or will Gen Z drive us to have a different common nomenclature? I'm just trying to think through how the landscape might change over the next 5 years as you think about these issues that are critically important to our competitiveness.
I think in these moments and times, I don't think we're gonna. It's so hard. It's so difficult to predict what's going to happen in 5 years. Sure. But what I will say this work has went through rebranding since the beginning of time. The work has been in the workplace since around the 60s. And it's never been well received work. It's just being televised at this moment in time. So it's went through a lot of rebrands. It wasn't always diversity, equity, inclusion. You saw it go from what it was in the 60s to evolving into diversity, to diversity, equity, to diversity, equity, inclusion, to diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, then diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, and accessibility. So it's going to continue to evolve. Things change day to day. People's needs change day to day. What I will say is, no matter what happened with the policies, I will dare say that the work is going to continue because of the reasons I mentioned before. You can't ignore those factors. And also, one thing I'm really working on at PUMA is ensuring everyone knows they're a part of the work, because the work is about all of us. It's about human beings and how we connect and how we support and how we show up for each other and ensure that we all have a sense of belonging. So as long as we continue to remember that this is ultimately at the foundation of this work, it's about human beings. We will hopefully we'll see that people will start to understand that and lean in, because as they see some of these policies reversing and start digging into what that really means, I think they're going a light bulb is going to go on and say, oh, that's what that means. This affects me. I'm a baby boomer. It wasn't just about white and black and Hispanic. It was about me as a baby boomer. It was about me as a veteran. Now I'm seeing these things reverse for me as a person with disabilities, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. Well, I think this was a great conversation. I think we've hit our time, but I think this was awesome. And I think this definitely helps whoever is listening, because like you said, it's not just those who work in D&I. It's not just those who, are white and black. D&I is important for everyone. And so, Matt, I guess, pass it over to you to close this out.
Yeah, I mean, what really comes to my mind, Michelle, and maybe there's one last question to sneak in before we close out, is it's not a zero-sum game, right? In the sense that people get nervous when it feels like there's limited resources to go around or limited opportunity. And the fact of the matter is there's not limit. It's almost limitless, right? And so just because a company is being conscientious about how it engages with a diverse consumer base or diverse workforce, or diverse stakeholders, or shareholders, we even talk about kind of the investment community who also expects these kinds of activities. I guess my broader point is that there's room for everybody, right? There's room for everyone to grow. There's room for everyone to make money. There's room for everyone to have opportunity. And so it isn't a zero-sum game. And my hope is that as people listen to this, and if you're skeptical about DEI, or you see something on the news, or you hear some of the dismantling that's happening, that you think through the fact that, again, there's something for everybody. There's room at the table for everyone. Am I wrong to think of it that way?
No. One thing I always say is, when you're doing diverse talent strategies, it's not about taking someone's job and giving it to another group. It's about casting that wide net to make sure everyone is fully aware of those opportunities. Because oftentimes, I'm sure you all know this, what we see in the sneaker industry, you see people bounce from company to company within the industry.
Yep.
And so you're leaving out some bright minds and talent because they don't have access and awareness of all the great opportunities that is within our industry. And the other quick points I will make is, based on some of the backpedaling of the work, you have seen a couple of companies where their stock shares have decreased. I won't name the companies. You can do the research. And the other piece I want to add is, whenever you see this big headline that a major company has rolled back D&I, read the fine print, because sometimes they're just making subtle changes and the media is blowing it up as if it's something bigger. And some of the companies I know that have been in the headlines in the last year, one of them in particular is doing diversity work better than most companies, and they're still dedicated to their work. Every business unit makes subtle changes. It just so happens that D&I gets the big headlines when subtle changes are made.
Are you telling me the media blows things out of proportion?
Never. I would never say that about the media. Love the media.
Well, Michelle, this has been awesome. And just for our listeners, because we only provide the audio, she has Coltrane's A Love Supreme displayed right behind her, which is one of the greatest albums of all time. So that was inspiring me this entire conversation. Michelle, thank you for your time today, for the good work that you're doing. Thank you for supporting the Black Footwear Forum. We have a Boston chapter. We have a Atlanta chapter, your two homes, essentially, right?
Yes.
We also have a New York chapter, and we have the national event in Detroit. We have some really cool announcements coming out this year with some things we're changing and working on. So our listeners should stay tuned for that. And if you're a corporate sponsor, you'd love to sponsor the Black Footwear Forum, like PUMA, like Nike, like Jordan, like Adidas, like Under Armour, like Caleres, like Rack Room, I could go on and on. Please contact us at info@fdra.org. We'd love for you to be a part of funding the continuous work that that folks like Michelle are doing, as well as the networking of a Black employees that, Sabria, how many are in the network now? 600 or 700 at this point?
Oh, no, there's like thousands within.
Oh my gosh, I totally underrepresented it. Thousands.
Thousands and thousands.
That's awesome. So make sure you reach out to us. We'd love to have you. Michelle, thank you for coming on the program. We really do appreciate it.
No, thank you all. I appreciate you all.
All right, folks, this has been another exciting edition of The Shoe-In Show. We encourage you to go to shoeinshow.com to check out all of our episodes over our nearly 9-year run. Some of them are still pertinent today, all the way back to when we started in 2016. If you would love to come on the program or have an interest in joining us for these critical conversations, again, shoot us an email at info@fdra.org. And until next time, Shoe-In Show is out.
Shoe-In has been brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear. For information about FDRA, visit fdra.org.